What's up guys, my name is Zero Heroes and welcome back to more Call to Arms Gates of Hell, and today I'm going to be giving you tips and tricks about Conquest Mode that you need to know or is important for you guys to win a battle. Now, first of all, let me just say that I have been playing Call to Arms and Gates of Hell for quite a long time now. I'm Men of Warsaw Squad 2, and I know Men of Warsaw Squad 2 doesn't have that Conquest Mode, but when you do have, you know, pros like myself, no, I'm joking, obviously, don't, I'm taking the mic. No, but when you've played Call to Arms or Gates of Hell for a long period of time, you start to know the stuff, the tips and tricks, or the pros and all that about the game. Now, I admit that there is still a few things that I could still improve on upon the game, like how I strategically move my men about or how I do everything. So yes, I still have a lot to learn, even as someone who, you know, who's been playing the game for years. But this is about you guys. This is about newcomers who are completely new to the game, who don't know really much about the game and also don't know much about the Conquest Mode. So let me just quickly explain what Conquest Mode is. The Conquest Mode is basically a miniature campaign, but there's no storyline to it. So you can either play the Germans or the Russians. It's up to you. Currently, as you know, there's only two factions, and you have to basically research you know, units and all that to get better units, such as, you know, T-34s or KV-1s and all that, or maybe it could be like Stugs or the Tiger 1 in the Germans. And you have to keep capturing points and, you know, capture these points right here to basically win the games. And if the enemy get up to 1,000 points, then the enemy win. But if you win, then you get to get the points. Now, before you start, you can pick missions on what you can pick. You can either pick like, you can get one mission might be to get research points, or the other missions might be able to get kind of munitions and all that. So be careful when picking your mission. That's actually tip number one, is make sure you pick your mission wisely, because that means you'll know which mission is what you want to get. If you go for research points, then you'll be able to research tanks quicker. But if you go for your munitions, it just means you'll be able to kind of keep your men up with all the ammo and all that. Keep them with all the ammunition, if that makes sense. So that is kind of tip number one, is go and make sure that you know what mission you're going to do first. Tip number two is that when it comes to defense, so there's two types of modes that are in the Conquest Mode. You've got your defense mode and you've got your attacking mode. Currently we are in the attacking mode, where we have to attack the enemy points and capture them, and then you've got the second one, which is you have to defend your base. Now, for attacking, which is what I'm currently doing just now, is that make sure you have your men ready to go. Make sure that you have your points. Make sure you have everything that you want. Now, make sure that at the start of the game, as well as that, make sure you bring out the units that you feel is right for this mission, because if you bring out units that isn't right for a defense mission or an attack mission, then you're going to struggle. So make sure when you have your first two, you know, points, when you have your first two you know, when you get to pick which units you want, then make sure that you pick wisely for the right type of mission. Now, of course, for this mission, I just took out two of the units, because in the first two stages, in the first mission, you can bring out both of your men, or both of your units, I should say. So, but to be honest, I don't think you really need to. As you can see, I've just absolutely just dominated this whole area with a couple of groups. I haven't even used all of my groups, and I haven't even used the AT gun back here. So definitely be careful when picking your units further along the game. Now, something I would also, another tip is that when it comes to attacking missions, such as these ones, you will want to focus your attention on one cap point first, such as I concentrated all my fire on cap point A, and then I went for cap point B. But you can split up your men if you want, but it's just going to be 10 times harder for yourself because you're trying to manage two things at once. So I would recommend, if you are completely new to the game, make sure that you attack 1 point first. Even I still attack, the 1 point. I would never separate my men, but if you are pro and you know the roundabouts and how to play the game, then even try and challenge yourself to capture 2 points as once. But like I said, I wouldn't recommend it. Now, as for defending, make sure that you actually, what I'll do is I will show you a defending mission, and then you get to see what it's like. But make sure also in the attacking mission that you at least have 1 or 2 groups defending this point, because you never know that the enemy AI could start attacking this area, or could start attacking start taking back the A point. So make sure you're absolutely certain that you have cover, that you have men in both A point and B point once it's captured. But to be honest, once you've captured A and C or whatever it is, then you've won the game. You don't have to wait till like 1,000 points. So just be careful that. Make sure you cover your men in both capture points, or all 3 capture points, once you go further down the line. And as you can see, like I said, the AI will start bringing out more men, which is what I predicted. So there was no point for me to kind of defend this area back here, as I know. But I would always make sure that you always just keep your men defended, or keep at least A point defended, especially with maybe like an AT gun or something, or a vehicle. So there we go. That is my tip on the attacking, my tips and tricks on the attacking side. Let's look at the defense side, and I will give you a few more tips and tricks on how you could make sure you get your 100% win in your defense. So let's go. Okay guys, welcome back to the defense side. So this is we are now defending it. As you can see that if you look on your mini map, we have one defense. We actually have 2 defense points. We have one right over here, which is C, and then we have this one, which is very interesting, which is holding a bridge right here, which I've actually never seen before. So it's actually quite interesting. But as you so, what are my tips and tricks for the defense mission? Now, with the defense mission at the start of the conquest mode, it is actually very easy. I've actually got this on hard, so I'm actually against, or I was against 2 AI, but this is difficulty on hard. So, but even at the start of every single conquest mode, you are actually it's still going to be easy. Not a lot comes out in the first few missions, but I do have to say that still, do not be fooled just because it's easy. Do not be fooled by being difficult. And what I mean by that is that if you guys, let's say, do the first couple missions, the AI can possibly still make a fool out of you. Like, they'll start attacking in numbers, and you will seriously be fooled by it. So make sure you do not get absolutely fooled by it. That is the #1 tip that I would recommend, is make sure you are not fooled by the AI, because if you do, then you're screwed. Well, you're not screwed, you're just going to have a more difficult time of defending your area. Now, with certain areas, now of course with defense missions, that you will be given different points of like the different, as you can see, like this one is, this cap point is a lot bigger, so it's easier to do, so it's actually kind of harder to defend, whereas this one is kind of easier to defend because it's on a small bridge and you have areas to defend yourself, put your men up against, like this brick wall over here, and then you also have some friendly AIs kind of scattered around the place. So make sure when you're planning out where to put your men, make sure you look around your capture point first and see where you can place your men, and see if you can actually even place down any mines or AT or anything like that. If you have engineers, or if you have any areas you can put down any sandbags, maybe cross off this bridge right here so you have some good, so that means so no enemies can actually get through you. So I would recommend doing that as well. Now also, I would also kind of, a tip is that I would recommend splitting up your men kind of into 2 or 3 groups. So that means is that you maybe send 2 groups to 1 point, and then send another 2 groups to the other point. And if you've just got kind of some stragglers at the back, even then put them to good use. Don't be fooled that you think, oh, this is going to be easy and it's going to be a piece of cake. Make sure that you gather your men up wisely and make sure you put them to good use, because every man that you bring out is very useful and you've spent a point on, or you spent a research point on. Oh Jesus, I thought something just crashed there. So make sure that you use every man wisely and you put them to good use, and just don't leave them at the back like sometimes what I do. So again, like I said, I can make mistakes here and there, and that's the whole point of experiencing this, is that you get better and better. Now also, as you can see, that I have upgraded this. As you go through the missions, I would also recommend that you upgrade your defenses as well. So in the research bar, you can actually upgrade your defense. So currently I only have the defense to level 1, so as you can see, it's only a couple sandbags and a couple men. But as you upgrade your defense, it's going to get bigger and it's going to get tougher to break through. So I would recommend that you upgrade your defense maybe as quickly as you can as well, because that means that every time there's a defense mission, that it's going to be easier for your side to defend against, and you're not going to struggle. Now of course, there's going to be tanks in the next couple missions which maybe your defense won't be able to defend against, but this is why you need maybe like your AT guns, which I have already kind of placed right here, heading towards the west, which I'm presuming is where they're going to come from. So make sure that you do use every single bit of environment around you to your advantage, even if it's putting them in the houses right here, which I don't do, but even if it's up against the logs right here, then do that. It's just very, very crucial that you use every bit of environment to your advantage. Or even what to do is split up your men as well, so it's harder to kill them off. See, instead of grouping them like I've currently done, it's just going to make an easier target for mortars to hit. So what to do is maybe just split them up, put them in houses or something, and turn your camera in, so that means they can get a good advantage of the area. So what I'm doing currently with my men is wrong. Well, it's not wrong, you can group them, but it's just going to be easier for the enemy to pick you off. But as you can see, that the enemy, as predicted, is coming down the railway, and luckily I have set up my men along here with my tank. So as long as you know where they're going to come from, even though there's no kind of, they're not going to, I don't know what my tank is doing. If you know where the enemy is coming from, then you automatically have the advantage. If you know that you have to defend these 2 points here, they're most likely going to come from the west, which is right here. And if you maybe have areas or capture points kind of maybe towards the west side further up, then they're most likely going to come from the north or the south or the north. Sorry, if you have capture points in the very first of the west, then they're most likely going to come from the east or the south or the north. So make sure that you know where the enemy is coming from, if you can try and predict it as well, because it is actually pretty easy where they come from, as even though there's no arrows telling you where they come from, if your capture points are roughly in these areas, then they're going to come from the west, even though it's kind of balanced that they could come from the east. But most likely, if you look at your AI and look at them, you can see they're kind of in a fortress and you're facing this way. That means that you know that they're coming from the west. Now of course, like I said, that tips and tricks are about helping you get better at the game. So even if I am wrong and you guys say differently, then I don't mind that, but just say it in a way that could help yourself as well. Say, as I predicted, there's going to be men coming from this way as well, going to try and attack us, but they've obviously saw how strong we are in this area, so we're not going to give it up that easily. Now another tip or trick I would say is that when it comes to defending your point, is that make sure what to do is even just try and dig, if your men don't have try and dig foxholes as well around the area. Don't build it in one certain area, because if you build it in one certain area, you could get possibly outflanked. And I know I said that they only come from one direction, but they could come from that one direction and then flank round, and that means you're going to have that area not covered. So make sure, unfortunately these men don't actually can't use foxholes yet, or they're not advanced enough, so make sure you give them some decent cover as well. As you can see, I'm using my AT gun to my advantage right now. I've got it all covered. Yeah, so literally it's all about knowing your wits around the environment. So tip number one is for defending is know the environment that you're in. Use the environment to your advantage and see what you can use them. Put them in houses, put them up against logs, put them up against fences. Even though fences aren't really that well, you know, good, but they can still cover you from your for your men. And also tip number two, tips and tricks number two for defending is that make sure that you have at least one AT gun or one anti-tank or tank defending your area, because they could bring out a tank or a bunch of infantry, and those things with shooting HE will definitely be good to your advantage. So at least make sure you have one AT gun or one tank with a machine gun at each point. As you can see, you can see that my DA is doing very well, just counting them off. Tip number 4, or I actually lost count, yeah. Tip number 4 is that make sure that your men is spread out evenly and not like this, because if you have them like this, like I said, they're just going to get killed off easily. So even what to do is just put them in the house here, and what that'll do is that'll give you easily the advantage that you need to look at that. So as you can see that I'm already going to just put one man here, and I'm going to put another man right, I'm going to put another man, I'm going to put another man right here. And as you can see already that they're a much harder target to hit. And even if, let's say, there is no environment, or this is part of tip number 4, let's say there's no really environment to take cover in, but there's only one area to take cover in, what to do is just spread out your men in that environment. So like spread them out, so that means it's harder to hit for the mortars or the tanks. Because if you have your men up like this, a tank is going to shoot HE and shoot this area right here, and like 3 of your men are going to die right here. But if you spread them out like this, and maybe even just slightly just pull them back into decent cover, that means there's a minimal chance of your men dying. And yes, even though these guys are still quite close together, but they're not all completely huddled up together in this one area, you know what I mean? So just evenly spread out your men. Even if your men don't have shots, just spread out your men, see if you can put them in different places that will be effective to them. And I was really actually hoping you could maybe climb this ladder right here, but I don't think you can, which would have been awesome. But even like, see if your men, see if you don't have any cover and it's kind of showing cover like this where they stand the opposite direction, what to do is put your man to the edge and they'll peek round the corner like this. So I'll quickly show you. So as you can see that he's standing right here, but see, he'll peep around the corner if there's an enemy, so you just slightly turn around, which is quite useful. So he still has a shot at the enemy. So as you can see, I've already just gave my men more of a chance to survive in about 2 minutes right there. And that's like the most useful tips and tricks I can give you. Now of course the AT don't have any sandbags that you can give them cover behind, or what to do is even put them in a bush so it's harder for the enemy tanks to see. But unfortunately it's only infantry, so it's nothing I'm too much worried about. Yeah, tip number 1, as I said, for defense, make sure that you are using your environment to your advantage. Tip number 2, make sure that you're spreading out your men in every way possible. As you can see like this, messed up isn't good. See something like this, this is better. Still a wee bit messed up, but it's much better. Tip number 3, if you can't get environment that will work, put one of your soldiers to the edge, so that means they can still shoot around the corner. Tip number 4, make sure that you are within the circle at least. If you have a men outside the circle, then they won't be useful. They're just going to die, and they're just going to be more vulnerable to enemy shots. So make sure you keep your men kind of in the circle, so that means your medics can get to them and revive them again. Tip number 5, make sure, like I said, you have all AT vehicles or some sort of vehicles near you, because that will definitely benefit you. As you can see, we've managed to just clobber everyone over here, and you can see that some of my men are out of ammunition. But what to do is that if there's any enemy guns lying about, press C on your keyboard. As you can see, I can pick that up. Yeah guys, that I think is mostly it, and then just wait till 1,000 points till you win. But that is it guys. I'm not going to kind of cover this, I'm not going to try and cover this whole area with I'm not going to try and, I'm not going to wait till 1,000 points to do a whole video, because that'd just be too long. So you know what guys, I'm going to end it there today. As you can see, some of my men are actually flanking around, so I've actually kind of I've literally just left my side vulnerable, so that is my fault. So as you can see, put your men over in an area where they can get cover. So you know what, guys, I think that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you'd enjoy this. If you do want to see more tips and tricks about this game or any other mode or multiplayer, single player, then let me know in the comments down below, because to be honest, having the little, if you know the littlest of tips, or if you know how to play this game properly and you know how to use it to your advantage and the environment to your advantage, you will instantly get a boost of advantage in your area. So guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you did enjoy today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and of course the people who did subscribe will be left on the screen right now, so thank you to everybody who did subscribe. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching and all your support, and I will see you in the next video. See you later, and goodbye.